and welcome to this week's Conversations with Marlene and Pascal. This week, Marlene is going to be talking about her incredible new book, Courage to Be You. Marlene, would you like to do a quick introduction? I'm not going to introduce myself this week because this week's all about you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pascal. Yeah. So I've been talking about Courage to Be You for several months. I've been here on my laptop writing away and saying the book will be here soon, the book will be here soon. And it is. It's here. It's finished. It's launched. It's on Amazon at the moment. It will be on other places to be able to get hold of it soon, but I'll be rolling it out on different platforms. I have a copy of it here. So there we go. Courage to Be
Well
You.
done.
It is in the world.
Congratulations. I know the blood, sweat, and heart and soul that has gone into this book. So really, really, really congratulations. So what encouraged you to write the book?
Okay, yeah. So I've been inspired to write this book. This book is all the work, all my work, and it brings in, all my client work, my work with students and courses, all the work I've done, my other books, all the things that have come up, I've been focused on over the years. And in this book, it's, a lot of the struggles we have in our relationships come down to people pleasing. A lot of it is about this, because people pleasing is the thing, it's the act, the action we take or don't take. But actually, at its heart, people pleasing is fear and worry about what other people think of us. And that comes down to needing to have a stronger, better relationship with ourselves, to have a more confident and self-loving relationship with ourselves. So people pleasing comes into so many different issues. And when clients bring problems, different types of relationship issues, but often what they're doing is they're worried about how they come across. So they behave in ways that are people pleasing ways. And so
Yeah.
looking at that in the book, that's why it's such a big topic. We all do it. And another reason I've been inspired to write this book is because I truly do believe that we all start out as people pleasers. It's what we learn in childhood to a greater or lesser degree, depending on the experiences we have. But on some level, we all learn to people please. We all learn that what other people think of us matters. But it's also phase one of life. And this is something that I've weaved through the book. This is phase one of life. And when we become adults, those ways of being, keeping people happy and being extra helpful and never saying no, and they don't help. They might help for us as children, but they don't help in our grown-up adult lives. And so we need to evolve into this next phase of life. And that's what's inspired me so much to write this book, is that we can all do this. We can all recognize that that's what we learned then, but we can be different now. And I truly do believe that if we all do this, our entire planet would be different, because we wouldn't all be going around coming from a place of fear, behaving in ways to try and make sure that other people approved of us and worrying about what other people thought and being defensive. Would actually be coming from more empowered relationships, more loving and confident relationships. And I feel that the world leaders we'd have a happier planet, because when we get into trouble on our planet, it's often because world leaders are coming from a place of defensiveness and fear. And it's that inner child who's still there. So
Yeah,
it's really important to me. This is a mission. It's not just a book, it's a mission. And it's for our future generations. If we are more confident, and we can be loving, we can be kind, we can be supportive to each other, we can be wonderful to each other, but we can do it from a place of having our own boundaries and our own prioritizing ourselves as much as we do other people, and having equally balanced relationships. And I feel that if, maybe people in our past haven't been able to have access to these tools or to understand themselves and relationships at this psychological level, but we can now, and we can understand how to do relationships better. And as we change, so we create a ripple effect, not just across all of the relationships currently, but going on into future generations.
Yeah,
So that's a
absolutely.
big answer to your question, what
That is
inspired me tonight.
but brilliant. And I mean, I know you did the wonderful mini series on all of the different types of people pleasing. I didn't realize there were so many different types. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's absolutely loaded with great facts and content. What other concepts are in the book then?
Okay, so I'm a great believer, and I'm sure you agree as a therapist and coach yourself. I'm a great believer that the best way forward, the best way to help is to look at what we want to move towards and at the same time let go of the things that are blocking us and stopping us and holding us back. And we need to do both. So in the book, I take that sort of dual approach. At the beginning of the book, I look at what is having courage to be you? What is it we're aiming for? What are we trying to move towards? What does courage to be you really mean? And I describe that and share that in the book. And I give 5 habits, the 5 habits that we can start straight away in order to have courage to be our true selves, to live life on our own terms and show up more fully and confidently in our life and in our relationships. When we adopt those habits, then the rest of it falls into place. So that's the moving towards part. And then the letting go bit in the latter part of the book, I talk about the 5 types of people pleasing that we all do, why we do them, and how to overcome them. So those are the 2 main concepts in the book, and they are woven together with wonderful TA, transactional analysis, which is how we interact between the different parts of ourselves. That worried child part, the adapted child, as we call it, and the adult part, who's the confident one. It's the adapted child who's always trying to please everybody and not be judged. And then the parental parts that we have, the lovely nurturing parent part we have. We can speak to our inner child in loving ways. So that's a big concept in the book as well. I weave TA all the way through so that we can learn how to love our inner child and help them let go of that need to worry and fret and please all the time. Let them go and be the free child, as we talk about in TA. Let them have fun in our subconscious and allow our adult self to step forward and actually set those boundaries lovingly and kindly, but feel confident and set those boundaries and communicate well. And so we can have better relationships and we get to do the things that we want to do in life. So we're not holding ourselves back all the time because we're worried about other people's opinions. Those are the 3 main concepts in the book.
Okay, fabulous. I mean, there's just so much there, isn't there? So much on each of those individually, let alone being able to share all 3 and how they all interact. So who is this book really aimed at? Who would most benefit from this book, and what would they gain from it?
I think this book is for anybody who is thinking, I am fed up of the same old patterns happening in my relationships, whether it's with a partner, it's falling out with family, it's, your friendships, always feeling that being taken for granted, wanting to speak up and say, actually, I don't want to do that thing, or I don't feel the same way, or can we do this differently, or I feel a little bit hurt when you said that. Can we talk about that? All of those things that we so often just go along with and we end up being taken for granted because if we don't let people know what matters to us, how can they treat us in that way? People don't mean to be disrespectful. Often people don't mean to be disrespectful. They don't mean to take us for granted. They just go along with the signals we give out. So if we're always agreeing and saying yes and not speaking up, and then of course they're going to treat us in that way because that's what they think is okay. And because we operate from the subconscious so much, if we're giving out a signal, we're not setting a boundary, then people are going to sort of say, their subconscious says, oh yes, that's all right, then they're not a priority. They haven't made it clear they're a priority, so I won't prioritize them. So, I won't do this or I won't. And so we end up feeling upset and hurt, but actually it's because we haven't been clear. So it's those problems in relationships where you get taken for granted, where you get, perhaps somebody doesn't speak to you as with as much respect as they could do, or they expect you to sacrifice, they expect you to rescue, to stop and give up your time, give up your energy, all those relationship problems. And it's for people who have reached a point in their life where they know that this isn't right. They know that they keep agreeing and saying yes and going along with things, and they know that in their heart they're just, if they could just be that little bit more confident, they know they could have better relationships and they'd feel happier, they'd feel more confident, and they know that they could actually do stuff in their life that they really want to do. They never have time to do it because they're too busy running around looking after everybody else, or they never do it because they're frightened of what other people might say. So this is for anybody who wants to kind of really fully be you, really be able to say what you want to say really well, communicate really well in really respectful ways to people. It's not about putting people down, it's about being able to have that sort of really grown up, deep, loving relationships with your friends, with your family, with your partner.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking of like some of the clients that I work with who, and you were talking about transactional analysis earlier, how many of my clients actually still have a parent who is either controlling or speaks to them with little respect or consideration, or whether that is the reality today or whether that is just their perception because that's how things have always been. But it's amazing the amount of 40, 50-year-old women walking around who are still under that kind of shadow or grip of parents. So having that boundary to be able to speak up would be great.
And it starts with the relationship we have with ourselves, as I said, and the relationship we have with that little boy or that little girl who first said, oh, I better not say anything, or I better be extra helpful, or I better give. Over giving is one of the people pleasing types that we do. And we just, as children, sometimes we learn, if I give away all my sweets and I'm really nice and I give my pocket money away, then I'll make friends, because maybe they've moved around a lot and it's hard to make friends, or maybe they're shy, or maybe they just discovered one day if they gave their sweets to everybody, they were popular. There's so much happens in our childhood that teaches us these things. And then we just don't realize that we integrate that into our psyche and it becomes a belief system and becomes a pattern. And then we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And actually, it's, if you are watching this and you're thinking, that's me, you're not alone. Because the moment we talk about these things, everybody says, oh, that's me. I do that. I wish I could stop doing that because I could have so much better relationships. Or I could just, if I could just say to people, I prefer this, or I can't help you this week, but I have got some time next week. Or, there's, and with adult children as well, people pleasing with adult children is quite a common thing as well, because there's this sort of transition phase. You've always been parent, you've always maybe rescued them a little bit here and there, but then they say, oh, mum, I've got no money, can you bail me out again? Can you bail me out again? And it's about this conscious kindness that I talk about. It's about saying, well, am I really helping this person? An adult child is a good example, but it's in various different relationships, could be a family member or a friend, or am I really helping them by always rescuing them? Am I actually helping them because I'm not giving them the opportunity to grow? So in the book, I talk about how we can do these kind, loving things for the people in our lives without people pleasing them. So supporting people, for example, rather than rescuing them, saying, I'll help you budget. I'll help you sort out your numbers, your money, but I'm not just going to hand you money all the time because you'll never learn to manage money then. There's so many different ways that we people please, and there's so many, you know, when we can break it down into these 5 types of people pleasing and address, notice the ones we do, because we all do them to various degrees. Notice the ones we do more and when and with who, and then we can address those separately. That way we break the people pleasing patterns. So actually, when you say, who is this book for? It's for anybody who has these experiences, and that covers a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are exercises to complete in it?
Yeah, there are. One thing I will say before I tell you about that is this book is a bit different from other books. And the reason this book is a bit different, the reason it stands out, I would say, is because in the book, I dig into the bits that stop us. You know, it's one thing saying, oh, to stop doing this, do this. And yes, we can do that. But what happens when you're in a relationship, and all relationships are very complex. And what happens when you're in a situation, you think, oh, maybe I should help them this one time. Maybe I'm being mean. Should I set a boundary, or was that being too, oh dear, maybe I'm being selfish? Or, you know, should I actually let it go when he teases me and says rude things to me in front of his friends because I know he doesn't mean it? Or should I actually speak back? Am I being oversensitive? You know, and we have this is what stops us from getting past the people pleasing habits. It's because we second guess ourselves and we get these what ifs and these confusions. And in the book, I dig into those scenarios. And for each of those types of people pleasing, there's a checklist that you can go through of questions you can ask yourself so that you kind of get a more informed decision. You can make a more informed decision. You get a clearer picture. It's not saying, yes, I'm people pleasing. No, I'm not people pleasing, because these things are always, different. They're complex. So it's about saying, well, now that I've answered those questions, I can see that I'm coming from a place of, actually, I'm just going to help. Or, oh, I realize I'm coming from a place of trying not to feel guilty or worried because when I was a kid, I learned this and I'm just replaying that. And so we can actually go through those checklists and we can make a much more informed decision about what to do. And that's a really important part of this book. And all those resources, those checklists and things that go with the book are all at the Courage to Be You hub. People can just log on there, they can download those resources and they can work through them.
Excellent. I mean, yeah, that really does set it apart from other books on the same topic, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Because that's what happens with clients, you see. I write very much like I'm working with a client in therapy or with clients. You know, clients come into the room, they say this scenario has happened, and I wasn't quite sure. Should I? Shouldn't I? I need to dig into it and I need to explore. Where was I coming from when I was thinking that? And what was informing my decision? Should I do this or should I let it go? And so it's very important that we have some frame of reference, that we're able to understand ourselves more deeply and where we're coming from so that we can make these decisions. And the more we make these decisions, the more confident we feel in those decisions over time.
Wonderful. So would you mind just kind of, so there's the checklists, the resources that are available, the checklists.
Yes.
What other ones are available?
There is an exercise you can do for each type of people pleasing. So they're different. So if you're a conflict avoider, there's no point sitting down and knowing what my boundaries are. You need to be able to manage your emotions. because conflict avoiding is often about, I feel a bit panicky, I can't say that. So there's, for example, for the conflict avoiding chapter, I have video and information on a technique you can use in order to soothe your emotions so that you feel you can say what you need to say. And then there's a different worksheet for each of those chapters. There's a different thing you can do to overcome each time. If you want to be able to, maybe you feel very calm and you're able to speak up, but you don't really know what your boundaries are. So you keep fitting in with everybody else because you don't know what your boundaries are. So you need to really learn and understand what are your values. Maybe you've never stopped to think about what your values are before. So there's a worksheet to help you understand your values at a deeper level. So then you're able to say, aha, I know that works for me, that doesn't work for me. Now I know what I can say to people.
So that's wonderful, Marlene. So for anybody listening that would like to make a small change and stop people pleasing, what's one thing that they can take away from this session today that they could implement to stop people pleasing?
I would say to absolutely recognize that people pleasing is something that you learnt to do in childhood. It's something we all learn. It's a survival thing. It's perfectly normal. But maybe now is your time. If you're listening to this and you're interested in this, it's maybe now is your time to let that stuff go. Because at some point we all have that opportunity. We can let that go and we can start moving into a life that's more fully yours rather than it being according to everybody else. That's why the tagline on the book is how to stop people pleasing, create a life that belongs to you instead of your life belonging to everybody else. So, that's it. That is the one thing I would say. It's okay. It's fine. It's, it's just that you could be happier. You could be more confident. You could get a lot more out of life. So that one thing is just to recognize that maybe this is your time now. So let's do this. Maybe get the book, buy the book. It's your guide to transition into this new phase of life, this book. And you can start by taking the quiz, the people pleasing quiz. We'll put the link in underneath. It's very popular. And that people pleasing quiz is really great for seeing how much you do of each of the different people pleasing types. We all do all of them, but some of us do more of some than the others. And when you take that quiz, it's really helpful because when you're reading the book, you'll think, oh, yes, that's the thing I do most, or that's the thing I do least, but I might read a bit about that because I do it sometimes and so on. So take the quiz, be kind to yourself, and understand this is an exciting time. It's time to move into that next phase of life and really, really live that life, that inner voice that's been nagging away at you saying, you should say something, you should speak up, you could be more confident, or you could go and do that thing you want to do if you weren't so worried about what everybody else thought of you. Now's the time and you get to do it.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, congratulations once again. I shall be ordering my copy over the weekend. Really look forward to reading it. And well done. It sounds absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Where can people buy it? You're going to put a link for buying it in the link below as well?
I will. It's on all the Amazons at the moment in paperback and Kindle version. And I'm rolling it out on other platforms over the next few weeks. But definitely there's a link. There'll be a link below. It's what we call a universal link, which means that when you click on that, it'll take you to your nearest Amazon, whichever country you're in.
Wow, that's really cool. That's great.
Yeah. So it'll take you if you're in the States, if you're in the UK, if you're in wherever you are, wherever Spain or wherever you are, it'll just take you to that Amazon store.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Okay, wonderful. Brilliant, Marlene. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pascal.
I'm sure it will be an absolute bestseller. No doubt about it. And actually, more importantly than that, it's going to help so many people.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? Yeah, that's the point. We all need this. We really do. And it's a journey. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm sure you're still learning. and it's an ongoing journey. But gosh, you come a long, long way once we start to notice these behavior patterns and we start to address them. Life gets so much better.
It's so much easier.
Easier, yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
Bye-bye
Thanks
for
so
now,
much, Marlene.
Pascal.
See you next time. Bye.